prayer hands emoji, right?
Okay.
And so we have to say R.I.P. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to, there's been some conversations online about it, but we want to say R.I.P. to creative recreation. Since we're talking about the era, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I ever had a pair of those though. I don't think I ever had Creative Rex. I just want that to be known.
Creative Rex were the wildest shoes though, because they might be the I don't even know if there's a clothing brand that sort of reps the same way, but like they encapsulated every idea, anything that you could throw at the wall, and trying to think about new silhouettes before any of these new brands that came online really figured it out. And I think we do have to give them a shout out because they were one of the first like startup brands that I saw where it was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, so you can go against Nike, you can go against Adidas and Reebok and these age-old brands and create something that people are now rocking in videos, people are now rocking on red carpets. But yeah, it got ugly for a little bit.
I mean, I was never okay. Naledge. Were you into Creative Rex?
Not crazy. I remember it had a moment in Chicago where people was wearing them, but it was like a short moment. Because I remember John Monopoly, man. We was shopping one time and he had these snakeskin Creative Rex on, and they matched his jacket. And I remember being like, yo, like, where you get those from? And I remember that day we went to Leaders, and he was like, yo, he bought me a pair. And then he was like, we go to LA, I'm gonna introduce you to the people or whatever. And he was under the act of like, maybe he was trying to hit a lick and be like, maybe they'll put some money towards a project or something like that. But I remember they took a turn for the worse because like all the gangsters started rocking them and being real matchy and shit. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was telling Double O, like you can find them shits in like Sally Beauty Supplies and shit like
that.
Man. Like, nah, you can't wear them shits no more.
You know what I want to say R.I.P. to? And I don't know if I know Naledge, you know, because we were nerds in this whole conversation, but I would love to say R.I.P. to the digital divide. Because you remember that was a whole ass conversation where people were super scared that the hood and poor people would never come online fast enough.
They was waiting.
And during that time is where you saw the awkward transition, right? That's where you saw motherfuckers was like, oh, somebody told me this shit was fly. And you're just like, what are you wearing right now?
Okay, so what was World Star the digital divide?
No, the digital divide was basically, it was before World Star. It was the idea that computers and hard lines and like rural areas and places that were really poor were never going to get the internet fast enough for everybody else that was benefiting from it. Little did they know that mobile phones would basically be the thing that would be the huge jump in transition. And so once the mobile phones happened, that is what really just jumped everything. But this was that weird transition where like if you didn't have super fast internet and all of a sudden you see Mickey come down 125th in some skinny jeans, you were just like, the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Because you didn't have MySpace. Like you didn't know what was happening on Right. You weren't like so many people, we think about that time and obviously we love it, but like how many of your homies were actually on like Hip Hop Game or any of the blogs at the time? They didn't know. They were maybe on live mixtapes. Maybe you had the mixtape sites, but motherfuckers were still buying CDs up until